the connection between a healthy money and a healthy person is very, very, very strong. So what to you is so exciting then about, like, when we last did it was Bitcoin with Jake, and I was focused exclusively on Bitcoin, and now I'm much more kind of broad as to what I'm going to go up and talk about on my podcast.
Nice.
But you said some things that I remember so clearly about the fact that, like, first of all, you mentioned today about patterns and recognizing patterns, and you'd come across a friend who was a professional poker player or something, and they told you about going all in on Bitcoin, and you were like, I'm in on that thing too. And so I'm just intrigued as to how you've maybe progressed from that point now, and obviously you're based in Madeira, this connection between money and health, and like, how do you see Bitcoin as healthier than the average person? Like, as one specific question. And do you think that the future is brighter from a health perspective with a better money?
There's
about 5 questions in there. Sorry, Rob. I'm getting carried away.
So if we look at the truth of why Bruno, his behavior is not accepting Bitcoin, is because he is on the left. He supports everyone else, but he doesn't value himself.
Yes. Okay.
So the thermometer is already there. So if you were to tell him, take on this highly valuable thing, he won't take it on. It's impossible. So the impedance of him accepting Bitcoin is an internal value thing. Okay. So if you don't have money, who's struggling financially, it's an internal game. It's a hamster wheel game. Okay. So, and I've worked with a lot of people on flipping that switch. If you're on the right of the hamster wheel, you're usually pretty good at knowing what value is. The poker player told me about Bitcoin. I'd spent the previous few years going all in on understanding what value is, because I didn't understand it. We had a child and I needed to get my shit together. So I read every book on money, and I remember reading Unstoppable or Unbreakable by Anthony Robbins, and he was saying you need 50% of this in stocks and they go up 10% a year. And I'm just like, I didn't understand it. But I spend hours and hours every day listening to every podcast on money and value. And then he said to me, so what I understood was, if I put my energy into it, at some point I will find the answer. I just have to keep understanding that. So when he said, I'm all in on this thing, Bitcoin, instantly I knew that's it. All my hairs went up.
Wow.
And I went bang, all in. Rode it up 2017. And when it crashed down, I had already understood it, put in hundreds of hours, that when it was down in the depths, I was buying. And I felt sick. I was like, oh, there's that thing. You should feel sick when blood's in the street, when you're buying. So amazing. And so I've got to the point now that that's 8 years that I keep an eye on the patterns in the main people that I follow. So I see the pattern on Twitter that the group think of most people is panic. I see that. And then I see the signal. I'm always looking for that signal that says, this is a great time to buy. So I always buy the dip. That's just something I've seen that's worked over 8 years. If you look at the pattern, it will tell you. The signal is the pattern. Will it? I'm not. I've read the books on Bitcoin and how it will change the world. That centralized system, I don't want to energize anymore. So I try and do everything I can through Bitcoin. And so as I energize this decentralized system, I've moved on to Nostr. Everything I can, I pay in Bitcoin. Also, at the same time, you could say there's I don't know what the word is, but I do not energize my centralized mind. I observe it, which is, in doing so, I become decentralized. So there's a decentralized mind, which is where we are free. So you can see that with my work and Bitcoin, that's why I've always been bullish on Bitcoin, because it fit my model of reality, that it does everything by doing nothing. He let it go, and it changes everything. With what's happening at the moment, with countries now talking about trading with Bitcoin, it was always said it's almost an inevitability because of the nature of this network and the rules and the fundamentals. So I've been fascinated by that, and I see it play out, and I just calmly, with my wife, we're working on her project, which is the unschooling neighborhood here in Madeira, and we attracted some big investors, and we are in the process of buying 500,000 meters squared piece of land, stunning piece of land, yeah. And so we will have we're getting building permission for 25 houses. We will have cattle. I'm reading a book about cattle at the moment. I probably won't do that. I'll stick to what I know.
But
I'm
someone will
reading
come
about.
and do it.
So yeah, I know. I'm already
Bruno's
connected.
probably got a mate.
No, I got. There's a Bitcoiner in the UK who was brought up on a farm. We've
Cool.
already talked. He's already met the investors. We'll
Wow.
have horse therapy. We have a water, natural springs, and so what do you do? Well, when you invest in Bitcoin, there's no more worries. You don't worry. If I worry, I observe. I play the game. I look the truth, because you create your reality, and your worries and your struggles are an internal game. And then you have energy to put into spending time with your children and building a project, because why not? Why not build a Bitcoin unschooling neighborhood? And Sylvia's done most of the work there, and the amount of people that are interested, it's like you don't have to market it. The meme, let me throw my money at you. Just take my money. It is because it's such a wonderful idea.
Wow. And I'm immediately interested and intrigued. The question I guess I was trying to draw out, that I asked it about 5 different ways, and we'll get onto your unschooling thing a bit more.
I
But
didn't hit it.
no, that's cool. Is basically an observation I believe I have seen in myself and in others, which you've just highlighted, is that by taking a Bitcoin allocation or going all in on Bitcoin, or however you want to describe it, worries drop away financially. Like you
Yes,
have a better view on the future financially. And that,
100%.
like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, it rises you up, and you're no longer just thinking about how to feed your family every day, but
Yeah.
like higher level problems. And so I think it would be fair to say then that the kind of coaching that you've talked through in this conversation is further up that ladder, right? You can start to think about, okay, how do I observe my mind more? And like, does that make us more creative? Does that make us healthier, do you think?
Well, the more you you free yourself, masterless. You become masterless.
Mm,
The more able you are to understand your behaviors of overeating, or drinking, or smoking, or whatever. So, 100%, unhealthy behaviors are driven by hamster wheels. Okay,
mm,
financial struggles is just paraffin on the hamster wheel. So if you have financial worries, it's still an internal game to understand the fear you have. If you keep gaining and then losing, so you do gain but then you lose, it's usually you're on the right. If you're struggling the whole time to make money, you're on the left. So that's the game you're playing. If you want to change your reality, change the internal environment.
mm,
Um, so coming to Bitcoiners, if they are on the right, this is my experience. If they're on the right, as in yang dominant, as in they're always doing, they will normally consume too much alcohol, marijuana, possibly smoke. They overdrive themselves. They may eat very healthily, but they have they overwork, and they get unhealthy problems. They get problems. If you are jammed up on the right, you will absolutely pull in unable experiences. So for me, it's always just yes, Bitcoin does that. It takes away the financial thing, but I know a lot of Bitcoiners who have lots of coins and they're super stressed still, or they're very angry, or they're very fearful, and they're constantly, what's going to happen? And they're on Twitter blasting their fears. So it's just an internal game. So Bitcoin, yes, but to be able to hold on to your, yeah, I totally agree with you. Will that stress make you more healthy? 100%. And I'm thankful for the Bitcoin. However, I know people who have lots of coins, and marijuana is a big problem for uh, Bitcoiners and coders who are very, very intelligent, very fast mind. They use marijuana to calm them down. I understand that, but it's because of the mind, so it's not solution.
Yeah, it's like a band-aid type thing. Gosh, it's so
100%.
interesting.